Welcome back. Today we are going to finish the sys-port build. But first, here's the jingle. All our pieces are now cut, and on the back there you can see I've got my sides laid out and the front laid out, and over here I've got a nice pile of boards that came from the wall that we took apart and recycled the material. So we're pretty much ready to start assembling the drawers. Before I do that, I want to turn these materials from what I would call rough cut, i.e. it's approximately the size we need it to be, to joinery ready. Now what I mean by joinery ready is I want each of these ends to be pretty square, and I need to trim this down so it gives me a loose fit inside the sysport. If you remember how we size these materials, we size them to hide the drawer runners on the final drawer assembly. And if you remember how we laid out the panels, we made a dummy drawer and brought the panels up tight to that assembly. So in theory, this should be a good resistance fit inside the sysport. And it is. Now in reality, I don't want a resistance fit. I want that to be quite loose inside there. Otherwise it will foul and catch on the drawer as we're opening and closing it. So I want to trim this down, and I'm probably going to take about 3 millimeters off either end of all of these, and that will give me that looser fit that I'm looking for to allow the drawers to work effectively. We're going to use the Capex to bring these down to size and to give us that joinery ready cut that we're looking for. This is calibrated. If you've not seen how we've calibrated this, go ahead and look at that video now. You'll also notice that we've put the leg extensions on this, the side extensions, and that's because I want to use these stops to give me accurate sizing. Therefore every piece comes out square and every piece comes out exactly the same. We'll start off by squaring up the side pieces. Put our laser on, and then I just want to line up this piece of material here so the laser is just resting on the end of my cut. Once that's in position, I'm going to bring my end stop up to give me a reference point and lock that into place. So now I can bring up every one of these pieces, slide it up to there, and cut that off to give me a square reference point. So using the reference piece that we've just made, I now slide the material up. Now this one, remember, isn't length critical, so this is about squaring it off, but I do want them all to be the same length. And now I can use the other laser to mark up that side there, and I can bring in my flag to reference that point, and that looks good. I can now make the second cut. That now gives me an end that is perfectly square, and we know it's square because we've calibrated the Capex, of course. I'll go ahead and batch these out, and then we'll come back here once I've done that and we will look at the fronts. See you in a minute. Okay, that's 40 sides, all cut square and all cut to length. So we'll now go ahead and set up for the cut for the fronts. So now we've got some reference marks, we've got lines 3 millimeters from both ends, we can now use the flags once again to set up for batch cutting. So we use the laser to mark onto that line and set the flag to the end of the material. And that's a bit too far. That's perfect. And we can now make the first cut. I can now use a laser to line up the second cut, which is there. Set my flag and make the second cut. So long as this now fits into the sysport, we're in good shape. So now we batch out all the fronts. I'll do that. See you in a minute. So there we have it. 20 fronts cut out, all the same length, all nice and square. Perfect. If you remember the design for the drawer, the thing that stops the sustainer sliding off the back of the drawer was a small block of wood. And all I've done here, taken some scrap material and I've routed a channel in that that's the same thickness as the plywood base that we're using. And I put a chamfer on the top here. So the idea goes, the sustainer comes in, kicks down that chamfer, and then that will secure and rest the sustainer in place, stop it sliding backwards. These don't need to be the full length of the drawer, so I need to chop this into chunks. So I want to quickly show you how I'm going to do that. Because these chunks are so small, they're going to be about that size. You can see that as the blade cuts through the material, the blade will catch this and propel it out across the workshop. And that in itself is a little bit dangerous, but it also means that these cuts are going to be a bit raggedy. So I want to set up some sacrificial fences and some guys to help us to cut that. The second problem I've got is that my flags will only come to this part of the mitre station, and I need them to really come to here. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take some more scrap wood, same thickness. And the first thing I'll do is I'll put a piece of wood on there, and that's going to be my sacrificial fence. So as I cut through this, that will stop those pieces flying off across the workshop. The second thing I'll do, a piece of the same thickness, I will use as a stop here. So I'll get this lined up to where I want it, which is about there, and then I will clamp both of those into position. Obviously, when I get down to this sort of cut, I don't really want my fingers anywhere near the blade, so I'll use a third piece of scrap just as a push stick to make sure I can get the final cut without cutting my fingers off, because I may need them when we assemble the drawers. Let's have a go. Just show you the technique we're going to use for the small cut at the end. Another scrap piece of wood against this fence and just clamp that into position, and that's enough to make that cut. With everything cut to length and everything squared, we are now ready to assemble the drawers. Here's the plan. We're going to use pocket hole joinery to secure the side elements to the front. We are going to glue the panel into the frame, and we will use tacks to tack the side pieces into the board. And those tacks are purely to hold it while it's drying. That's not the strength. The glue is going to give us the strength. So we now need to put pocket holes in one end of each of our side pieces, and for that we'll go back to using the Craig jig. So I'll drill all these holes and then we can start the assembly. See you in a minute. With everything set, let's go. I want to add some glue to the channel. I'm actually interested in getting glue on the sides of the channel as well as the base of the channel. So just run it down the sides first of all, and then we can put a smear across the middle. Use your glue stick and just spread that out, so making sure you get a nice build up at the sides. Then rub the excess into the base, and the same on the other side. It's the sides that's really going to give us the strength on the glue, but we will get some strength from the base cut as well. So that's it, done. Do the same on the sides. Remember, work from the pocket hole. We don't need glue all the way because the board doesn't go all the way. Onto the sides, onto the other side, and then a little bit in the middle. Take the glue stick, just spread that round, making sure that's building up nicely on the sides and into the base as well. And the same again. With the face side to me, get the nicest side of your board and face that towards you as well, and just put that into the channel. With your pocket holes facing down, slide that one in. Your pocket hole facing down, slide that one in. Make sure that your centre and that's 10mm each side, which is good on this particular one. Secure the front. Light pressure with your hand, holding everything into position. So everything's nice and square still. Oops. Secure the other side. And there you pretty much have it. Everything's nice and flat at the top. All my faces are up. It's nice and square. Looks good to me. Just to help it to dry, we'll just put some brads in the side. So halfway point. One, push down to the back. Two, turn over. Secure this side as well. Push down. One, two, and that'll keep everything nice and square and secure while this dries. The final job, this is just to drop a small piece onto the back. A little bit of glue again. Now we'll just secure that with a brad. And there you go. We have a systainer drawer. So I'll go ahead and make the rest of these, and then we'll come back and look at putting them in the sys-port. See you soon. Oh no, we've got a problem. Do you remember I've made such a big deal about putting this front piece on so it overlapped, so I could put a nice finger pull inside it and it would hide the hinges? That wasn't in the original design, and I didn't go back and look at the impact of that decision on my original design. Watch this. My drawers work beautifully. They're full length, I can access the contents of the boxes. However, I can only open the top box because the shelves interfere with each other. I didn't allow for that extra depth in my design. So I've come up with a workaround. And what I'm going to do is to route a beautiful profile of the front of each drawer that looks visually appealing. So now my drawers can come out through that profile, and now I can fit my systainers into the cabinets. So if anybody asks you, that was always a design feature. I always wanted that nice curve in the drawer fronts to accentuate and enhance the shape of the systainer in the unit. It wasn't an error in any way, shape or form. I'm going to go through and update that accentuation curve in each of my drawer fronts, then I'll fit the drawers, then I'll come back and we'll look at the finished article. Some days right, some days. See you soon. We've finished. The sys-port is finally complete and it's worked out really well. I have changed a couple of things as I was putting the drawers in place. First thing is I've changed the layout or the positions of the drawers, and I've done that to fit in with the workflow that's beginning to develop inside the workshop. So this stack here is all the stuff that's associated with routers and the CMS table accessories. This stack on this side here is all the things that are associated with the MFT table, so the clamps, the marking gear, and so on and so forth. This here tends to be my powerhouse, so you know, my sanders, jigsaws, drills, so on and so forth. And then this here tends to be my fixing kit, my dominoes and so on and so forth. I also incorporated my 2 toolboxes, so my closed toolbox here and then my open toolbox down here at this side, and that gives them a permanent home and a place to live, and that's allowed me to claim back all this space at the end here. And I'm still thinking what I do with that. I think I'll probably turn it into a couple of cupboards, and that will allow me to store the chemicals safely out of the way that we have inside the workshop. The other thing that we've changed here is the overhang on the top. Remember when we first did it, it was a 50mm overhang, and I felt that looked a bit ugly, a bit heavy, so I took it back to 25mm, and that looked nice, but at that overhang it was stopping these boxes opening, so they wouldn't stay up like that. It was sort of kind of knocking them down. So I've taken that back even further, and now it's about a 5mm overhang. I will update the design diagrams and the design drawings, so when the website's launched you can go ahead and get that. But other than that, it's worked really, really well. It was quite a nice build, it's enjoyable, it got us used to some of the Festool tool systems, and that's going to improve my workflow no end. Everything organised, everything got its place now, and I'm really, really happy. I hope you found this useful. Leave a comment, and we've got loads more projects coming up. I've still got to do the bookcase at the top, I've got to finish off the walls, we've got to build some outside storage, we've got to work out on the wood storage room, so there's loads to come on the channel. So please subscribe, leave a like. Any questions, comments, feedback, put it in the comments below. Look forward to that. Other than that, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.